And now we are joined by Brigette Harenda from B&Co. Thank you for joining us, Brigette. How are you today?
Great. It's gorgeous in Sausalito.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal day here. So for those that aren't familiar, can you tell us a little bit about B&Co?
Sure. So I started the company 16 years ago now. I actually am a bit of an accidental hotelier myself. The company started when I started working on an independent hotel in Milwaukee, and that was in 2008. As you can imagine, things didn't go well financially, and so I became an investor in that hotel. And I remember turning to my staff at the time and saying, okay, we're in the hotel business. And so we started B&Co as a company that would specialize in hospitality branding.
That's great. So how many ILCs have you been to?
Way more than I can possibly count. I mean, I think I've been coming for 9 or 10 years. Right. I usually come to anywhere from 2 to all of them every single year. I love them. I mean, it's really the only hospitality event that I attend anymore.
So what are some takeaways from this event and being here in Sausalito, which for us is just an amazing place?
It is an amazing place, and I think that's indicative of what ILC does. They find fantastic markets to host these things. So not only are you coming together for the conversations and the content, but you get a deep dive into a market and what's happening on the hospitality scene in each of the cities that are hosted.
Absolutely, they're great, yeah.
So you mentioned you got into the hotel business in 2008 in Milwaukee. I was actually in Milwaukee in 2008. I'm going to college there. How have you seen Milwaukee grow and evolve over the years?
It's a great question. I think Milwaukee right now is having a little bit of a moment. I think the city is doing very well in terms of kind of owning who we are and having our own strong point of view. We're no longer trying to be Chicago. We're no longer, in the shadow of Minneapolis. Like Milwaukee has its own thing happening, and we're seeing that at the hospitality level as well. And in 2008, when, say, the Iron Horse Hotel opened up, we had to convince people to come in and hang out. Now, hotels are the place to be, and there are many opening up, and the market itself is really maturing, but we still know who we are.
Yeah. I actually worked right next to the Iron Horse Hotel when it opened, and we would go there for happy hours, and the Harley-Davidson Museum is right around the corner, so we would go there for happy hours and sit on the motorcycle seats. But that was such a cool hotel, and it still is one of my favorite hotels in Milwaukee.
Yeah, the city is really coming into its own, and I think we are getting a little bit more credibility. I mean, we're making lists left and right. Yeah. Eater does a ton of content on Milwaukee. Travel and Leisure has featured Milwaukee a couple of times in the last few years, so it's good to see.
It's great.
So what do you think, we're just about into 2025, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges for the independent sector for hospitality?
Well, there is a growing number of hotels that are playing within the independent space. Before, if you didn't have a 100-room hotel, like you couldn't, quote unquote, make money. Right. Now you're seeing small hotels open up, under 20 room count. So there's more and more competition for the guest that's looking for a unique stay. Right. And I think that's happening in major markets, but it's also happening in secondary and tertiary markets as well.
Looking ahead to 2025 again, what's a trend that you think we're going to see more of next year in the independent space?
I think the trend is the continued crossover of hospitality and residential spaces. Airbnb started it, but they're not ending it. And we're seeing all of the major brands start to play within the residential space. Many of our branding projects right now have a residential component. So we're working on either an apartment type of concept or a lot of condos.
Sure. So the part hotels, kind of that upcoming trend. Very cool. Very cool. Well, this has been great. Thank you for stopping by, Brigette. It was great to talk to a fellow Wisconsinite and hear what's going on in Milwaukee. Thanks for coming.
Cool. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now we are joined by Romal Jayswal from StayNow. Thanks for joining us, Romal. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So tell me a little bit, StayNow, a startup. Tell us a little bit more about StayNow and what you're doing.
No, absolutely. So before I talk about StayNow, let me tell you a little bit about the journey where we got. Yeah. And so I've been owning hotels, and I'm a techie. So I worked like 15 years in corporate America. So seen and built multiple products. And on the investment side, I own hotels, so I see the OTAs and brands, right? So if you think about our industry, if $100 is coming to a hotel, $40 to $50 is lost in the name of technology, branding to OTAs and brands. So that's the problem we are trying to solve, right? And one of the biggest piece is OTA. And it's only getting worse because now, it's like they're pitching one hotel against another and all that. So we're trying to come into a market, and the way we want to enter is through a top, boutique experience, right? We are trying to get that community together. So what we are doing is, when we started on this journey, we are like, okay, how can we build an OTA which is not just like copy of Expedia and Bookings.com?
Right.
So we hired there's a company called UX Reactor. So they specialized in taking a napkin idea all the way to product design.
Wow.
So they spent almost a year, and then so I was connected with the principal, and he was so moved by the story and the problem that we are solving. So they took equity in us.
Oh, great.
And so they went and they did their research. They talked to like 2,000 different customers from different segments. They did a complete audit of existing OTAs and the buying behavior. And now they came back with all this survey research, and they said that, okay, these are the things that a customer is looking for. Because currently when they go to book a room, the research they go through is like they're going through 10 different tabs, a Google Map, a TripAdvisor, and all that. So it's too much clutter. So if you can build an app with these features, then it's going to really appeal to the customer. So after 1 year of that, now we were confident that what we are building is not what RJ thinks. It's what the end customer is looking for. Since I own hotels and I'm connected to a lot of hoteliers, we did our first friends and family round, and we raised some good capital. And it took us 2 years to build the product.
Wow.
We went live on October 1st. So it's like 2 weeks in.
Wow.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yes. No, thank you. Yeah. So it's a lot of hard work, a lot of risk taking has been gone in, and what we are trying to disrupt is pretty big, right? And you hear about new OTAs coming every now and then, right? Yeah. So what are we going to do that it's going to be different? And the chance of success is very low. But we feel that we have touched everything that we can to figure out, right? There is no opportunity lost and all that. So hopefully, and this is my first conference, by the way. So wow. I'm used to going to Hilton, Wyndham, Choice, all the different conferences. So this one just popped up, I think, on my social media, because now I'm into the whole like independent hotels, and I'm trying to understand what is the difference between an independent hotel and a lifestyle hotel and high-end experiences. So in my mind, I'm trying to understand how that differences are, and this event came up, right? So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me go and figure out, what is the crowd, what kind of thing, and I'm really impressed the way everybody that I meet with, I'm coming out with a different perspective, like what my understanding of independent properties are, and how the operators or the investors, how they think. It has literally like 50% is completely was wrong or different.
Yeah.
So it has been a great journey. But yeah, coming back to StayNow, that's the vision. We want to become a platform where we can have all this high-end boutique lifestyle hotel under one umbrella. So the community comes together. And then as we evolve, we want to make it more and more community platform. So that way, if you take a vacation and you have done the research of hotels, and we are putting the whole trip concept together. That was one of the things that came out of the research is people don't want to book a hotel and a restaurant somewhere, an activity somewhere. So in our app, you can do a hotel, restaurants, activities, things to do. So we have done all that plumbing. So now you're a one-stop shop. Sure. And the beauty is that if he has done all that research and you are in the same segment, we decide segment based on buying behavior and all that, shopping, what you're looking for. For you, it's going to be one click.
Yep.
You do one click and you get exactly same thing that he experienced.
Wow.
Yes. And then there's going to be a lot of AI built in. Sure. So that way the whole journey is very smooth for you. For him, if he clicks on your trip, now you get that loyalty points. Because now you are becoming a travel influencer within our community.
We've had some startups on this, but I think 2 weeks is the youngest one we've ever had. But
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, so you talked about this conference, so I'm going to get into, we have 2 questions that we've been asking everyone. I'm going to ask the first one, Steve will ask the second one. What's the biggest challenge that you think is currently facing the independent hotels from some of this, that's facing them for next year, for some of the research you've done for your company?
What I thought that independent hotels, they are relying strictly on OTAs. So 70 to 80% was the number that I came in this conference based on our research. So I'm like, if there's 70-80% of the bookings that are coming through OTAs and the commission is so high, right? So that's what StayNow is disrupting, right? But when I came here in this lifestyle, this high-end boutique hotel, that number is like 30, 40, even 20 on some properties. So that is something that I learned, which was contradicting to what data I we saw. So yeah, I think that's the opportunity that we are going after, right? Clearly with the StayNow. And like just kind of personal side of it, I get bored going to the same hotel every time, right? Like Holiday Inn Express is like, if I'm not like, it's just sleep and shower, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to experience something, there's nothing there, right? And I feel that, I grew up in India and every vacation that we used to go, there is some memory about the hotel, the city and everything. So I want to bring that concept in StayNow, like experience as a local, what they are experiencing, right? You don't want to go and eat at the same pizza place that you have in your town.
Right.
You want to know an authentic guy who's making in that town and that locals are enjoying. So you want to know that.
Yeah.
So that's why our platform is catering to that, right? Like stay at a places, find all this kind of hole in the wall and, learn from the local and enjoy, the town.
Hyper-local experiences.
And I think that's what I think independent hotels are doing it in this segment. But I think the more you do that,
that is a challenge.
Yeah, and then I think the whole value proposition from a business standpoint should come out, right? That okay, you know what? If I am a traditional brand hotel and I'm making X number of money, and the whole P&L. If I invest a little bit more and convert to this brand, I think there'll be more properties, there'll be more segments. I think families and people will have more authentic experiences, right? That's the
100% agree. Is that a trend you see for next year too, the experiences, or do you think there's a bigger trend coming?
Based on our research, I feel the trend is going to be people are hungry for authentic interactions, experiences, and that's what we are positioning for.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, RJ, thank you so much for joining and sitting down with us 2 weeks into your company. It was great to learn a little bit more about StayNow, and thanks for stopping by.
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We are back with Jackie Nunley from Salesforce. Longtime friend of the show. You were on season 1 with us, right?
I know. And I hit the highest score or something like that. We were watching the stats.
It was impressive. Everybody loves Jackie Nunley and the Modern Hotelier. So last time we talked about AI. It was kind of the newer trend a couple years ago, and you had awesome insight onto why AI is important with data. What has been going on with AI in the past, I guess, I would say 2 years, but that's a lot. So let's go past you. What's been going on with AI recently? How's that?
6 months. It's moving so quickly. It's really incredible how much speed we've managed to kind of like gain with this momentum and what it means for us, and everybody's engaging with AI on a regular basis. It's not just about work. It's about how do I inform myself and use the technology that is accessible to me for the future. So in the world of work and hospitality, it's very interesting. We went from predictive AI to generative AI. And generative AI was, input, output. That's what we currently do with ChatGPT and, tools like that. But what's really interesting is how the tech world are bringing this integration of this technology into their products to actually help industries evolve much quicker. I think that what's really important is the platform that it sits on, to really hone it in on how secure the technology actually can be to execute at the level that we need it to execute for enterprise and independent hotels, which is what we're here for. But what's incredibly interesting is the next phase of AI that has come into being, which is agentic AI or autonomous agents. So with input-output, with generative AI, we are now seeing AI actually completing tasks grounded within rules and guardrails, but being able to provide a source of completing a task. So now the word an AI assistant becomes really meaningful when you have this sort of technology available to you to be able to make you a little bit more productive with more accuracy, all grounded in data that is available. So we're seeing this era starting to evolve. And it's interesting, there's lots and lots and lots of momentum in the enterprise world. It would be very interesting to see how this technology can help the independent world of hotels, because the enterprise hotels have large IT departments. But when we're looking at independence, I think some of these tools are exactly what they need to be able to compete, to be able to be more productive, to be able to excel at what they do.
Especially with staffing shortages, AI just helping, create more time and be more efficient with their time. I mean, it's going to be great, I hope, for independent hotels.
Absolutely. In hospitality, we also have the high turnover, but we also have the age of, who comes and works in hospitality, right? So we were experiencing labor shortages, not just because there wasn't anyone who wanted to work in hospitality, but how do you actually engage the younger generations to be interested in working in hospitality?
Exactly.
So this is one of the levers that can definitely be pulled when the right technology is available to allow them to be themselves. If you've had any conversations with Gen Zers or with Zillennials, I heard something about Zillennials yesterday as well. We have to define what that is. But that's interesting. For me, that's really exciting. If I can bring in the right technology that aligns with what these individuals are used to using, engaging with on a day-to-day basis, then it starts to make sense. But what really excites me is the ability to use this technology that is going to help us get to be more human and deliver hospitality. So it's almost like we've come to the place where technology is going to make us more human by taking away, all of the minutiae and mundane tasks that people have to do.
But you're outspoken. But why don't people think that? Why are people so scared of it? Where well, you just said not many people say. Everybody thinks it's going to hurt it. It's going to hinder it. It's going to.
Well, there are many approaches to this, and it takes looking at how to improve businesses on every level. Right. It takes the right leadership. It takes the right decisions being made around the business. And I think it's just a matter of it coming full circle. Right. We've talked so many times about how our technology has kind of been slow to evolve in hospitality. Well, maybe we didn't have the right technology. This is the opportunity to allow hoteliers to actually look at what they have and really execute on all of the things we talk about. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the curation of hospitality, is the delivery of the guest experience, how do you make these things come alive? I think we all had the right intentions, but perhaps the technology to allow for that was not available yet.
Agree.
Which is why I'm so stoked about what's coming.
Me too. We're in the same boat about AI.
Yes.
So you have been to a lot of ILCs.
I have.
So this is a unique place. Steve and I have been to many, but this is a unique setting. What are your kind of takeaways from the couple of days here? Anything that you kind of said, wow, this is something that stood out versus maybe other ILCs? Anything?
I think the audience has changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think we're becoming more inclusive of all of hospitality. Right. This particular ILC, I've been quite surprised. I've been hanging out with a lot of architects and designers and getting their take on what hospitality looks like in the future. I think that affects branding and the ideas of how to brand hotels. And I think some of the very interesting panels that I listened to was really about how do you design for future audiences now that everything seems to be changing. So it's been a bit of a learning experience for me. I'm glad that I was exposed to that bit because it gets my juices going about how we can continue to help them evolve. I see a lot of new brands in the future. I don't know if you guys were in the panel with Proper Hotels and Viceroy. That was a very interesting take on luxury.
What interests you about that panel?
I think it's just really interesting how luxury is very ultra focused on the guest experience. Mm-hmm. And they also realize how scale needs to work in the luxury market. How do you do that effectively and build the right sort of branding around it? How are you engaging with guests on a regular basis? How are you enabling or how are you supporting your employees, all to be able to deliver a luxury experience? So it's really interesting looking at a brand like Proper and then looking at a brand like Viceroy.
Sure.
And all of the aspects that bring hospitality together.
So it's October. We're almost through 2024.
It is.
This year has flown by.
Quick.
What are some challenges you think the independent space is going to face next year?
I think there's a merging of hospitality, and the more I come to these conferences, I hear a lot of sharing. But how do you keep independence independent? I won't go too far with that topic, but I think you both know what I am referring to. But I think it's just really interesting. This is the incubator. This is where ideas are born. I think the challenge that is going to come around for independence is speed. Without the right technology, you cannot move fast. I think there has to be a shift as well when they're thinking about how to create independent hotels and experiences for the future. Because right now, from my purview, when I look at how technology is moving, it's the future creating the future. Mm-hmm. It is not about looking in the past. So it's really about how do you enable the independent space to move faster, to compete with the larger brands, to still stay creative, and to be the incubator of what hospitality should actually be.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, that's what I think they'll be challenged with.
All right, so now you get to redefine and change and maybe even eliminate a word that people are using, which is trends. So why should we do that? And tell us what your insights are there.
I think that when you look at other industries, apart from hospitality, today we had a forum talk on the convergence of hospitality and retail. And there are kind of like stories in our market where we've seen a trend, or the trend actually translates into hotels are the new retail storefront.
Right.
And you're seeing that happening. Vegas has had it for a really long time, but now you're actually seeing like bespoke amenities when, your turn down is done that are related to a brand that is affiliated with a hotel. Right. So this is how some of the retail aspects are coming into hospitality, because it brings in the crowd that is loyal to the brand, and then it's meaningful, which is what we want to deliver with hospitality. But to me, trends come and go.
Right.
And I think that focusing on what hospitality can be and perfecting that first. We heard from the CDO at Proper. Mm-hmm. Let's get the basics right. And I think that is so important. Yeah. which is why I shy away from the word trends.
Right.
It really is about what market are we in and what insight can we get from the market that informs what we have to do to deliver the right sort of hospitality. That to me makes a lot more sense and has longevity to it and a stability to really, truly delivering the right sort of hospitality.
That's great.
Jackie Nunley, a pleasure as always. Thank you for taking time out of your conference to sit and talk with us for a couple minutes.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we are joined by Ryan Foat from 360. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
welcome,
You bet. So, for those that might not be familiar with 360, can you give a little background about what you all do?
Sure. 360 is a design build company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We've been doing this for 17 years. I joined the team 9 years ago. Actually, my very first project was with the Dan project, and you may have met my partner earlier, Dan Jacobs. So his project, Dan, was the first project I was actively involved in there. But we do, our primary client would be food and beverage spaces. We do some retail, other types of commercial spaces, and certainly with COVID, we did a lot of remodels of basements and kitchens and bathrooms too, because commercial wasn't doing so great for a minute. But it's come back very strong, and in fact, we've had some of our best years ever.
That's awesome.
That's great. So is this your first ILC?
This is my second ILC.
Second ILC.
Yeah, I was encouraged to come by Brigette, my other partner. She's been a long-time partner of ILC and participant, and she said, this would be really great for you. You should really come check this out. And of course, I trust her, and I did, and I went to Asheville. It was beautiful. It was super inspiring. I came back, and I really felt like my cup had been filled.
Right.
I was super inspired, and since then, I feel like it's like the floodgates have opened, just like so many new business development ideas and ways to approach our business and grow our business.
That's incredible. So looking ahead to 2025, what challenges do you see either in the F&B side or in hospitality in general?
What I see in F&B is that the biggest challenge seems to be in staffing. I hear about it nonstop. I don't know what to do. I lost another GM today. I'm on my third bar manager in 6 weeks, and it's awful. You can't open a restaurant like that, and certainly a restaurant that doesn't have consistency in management doesn't survive. But then even finding the right talent pool for the kitchen is a challenge. So I think it's really important as we're concepting spaces to do things that are achievable and sustainable and operable with the talent pool that you have available.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so we've been asking everyone, we're trying to get a little bit of that crystal ball into the future. So do you have any predictions or trends that you see coming up in 2025 or anything you've maybe taken away from the couple of days here that you think is going to catch on for next year?
I feel like some things, and maybe it's just because I'm really into it. I have my own background as a line cook and working in culinary as to pay my way through design school. That I see it right now that there's so much buzz around shows like The Bear or Top Chef, for example, and then they feed back for the next season, and everyone's really just excited about that F&B space. And you hear even people casually using the language, "Yes, chef." But I think that there's more of this connection than ever with people really, empathizing with what's going on in the kitchen. And I think if we can bring more connection of the kitchen experience to the people in the restaurant, I think that would be a really great thing, is to just build more connection there and understanding of what does that mean to run a successful F&B space.
Very well said. And I agree with that 100%. I was actually in Arizona and went to this sushi place where the chef makes it in front of you and telling you about where the food comes from and the history of how they make sushi. And they made wasabi with shark scales and stuff like that, and doing it all in front of the presentation, the experience of it all.
And then you're making a deeper connection. It's not just the experience. It's now like an emotional connection and an intellectual connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ryan, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for stopping by. Great to chat with you, and yeah, appreciate it.
Super fun.
Yeah,
Awesome.
cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan. You made it to the end of the Modern Hotelier. Thanks for listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Make More Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a guest or sponsor that would be a good fit, feel free to email us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. If you'd like to get some Modern Hotelier merch, click the merch button on modernhotelier.com or click the link below. Thanks and have a great day.